and fatalistic perspective here. So when I look at this map, I think there's lots of places that are safe in the event of a nuclear conflict, especially if you consider traditional nuclear conflict, which is going to come from the 9 states that are nuclear capable. You're going to see whatever exchange of strategic or tactical warheads happen. You're going to see trade winds take whatever debris comes specifically from surface-based.
Welcome to Pegasus versus the World, where we take on challenges, comedy, trending topics, and some travel.
City boy! City boy!
All right, man, we're back. Right now, we're about to uncover the safest country in the world if there is a nuclear war on this planet. I you not, you guys. We are going to right now find out the safest country in the world if there is a nuclear war, meaning nuclear winter, meaning a lot of that's above my pay grade. We're still going to rock. Right now, beginning of the video, we're 1 minute in. Start placing your bets. What country do you think it is? I know what country it is because I started watching this today and I was like, bro, I got to talk about this on my channel. This is wild. It's wild. And when you think about the world being in a perpetual state of war, almost from its inception, you know, we're kind of at war with our own selves, then we're at war with tribes, and then it's just this perpetual thing that human beings seem to gravitate to, so much that it's an industry that creates a lot of money now. But the danger is the nuclear arms, because we could destroy this planet with the after effects from nuclear explosions. Even if you're far away from it, still there's a ripple effect on nature and the environment. Now, I believe that the planet has a special resilience, as do human beings, as do, like, you know, roaches and rats and stuff. They just have this interesting resilience and able to survive and thrive off things that, you know, other animals couldn't, you know. And the planet is no different. It's very resilient. But how resilient is it? Anyways, we're about to answer that question. We're 2 minutes in. In the comments, put what country you think is the best country to survive a nuclear winter or a nuclear war. In here, they're about to say it. They're about to say it. So if you're here, I'm going to start at this clip right here. I haven't even watched this whole thing. I jumped around, but I saw this clip this morning. Oh, yeah, I just got back, you guys. I was in Kentucky for the 4th of July, then did a side quest to Holiday World in Indiana with my family. So it was kind of a wild, but I'm back. Okay, why nuclear weapons still dominate policy? Oh, where is safe in a nuclear war? Where is safe in a nuclear war? That's the clip we're about to watch. Anyways, you guys, before we get into it, like, share, comment, subscribe. Please go over. You can check this out on the Diary of a CEO. I'm subscribed because he just has some of the most epic conversations. His podcast is up there with Rogan's to me, and I just love the nuance. And it's not like, it's just, I feel like it's really middle ground. It's really, really middle ground. You get a lot of good information, but let's find out right now, where's the safest country in the world during a nuclear event? Here we go.
Is there anywhere on this map, Annie, that is safe in a war? Because, you know, I think as a way of dealing with the angst of this, in our group chat, me and my friends, when these things start kicking off all the time, I think this is a coping mechanism. We all, like, share the fact that some of us are, you know, down here on the map, and one of us is in Australia. But then my other friend, unfortunately, he's in, like, Dubai. And we're always looking at a map and when the bombs are going off. Is there anywhere on this map that is safe in the event of a nuclear war?
Mm-hmm. There's one tiny little place, New Zealand, and a little bit of Australia. And that has to do with, if you follow the idea of nuclear war, that agriculture fails when we have a nuclear winter and the sun gets blocked out and there's no more, you know, there's large bodies up in the mid-latitude.
Y'all see that? Y'all heard that? Now, there's a lot more nuance because the other brother, that dude with the crazy hair, he's former CIA, and he has a couple of theories alongside of it. But, you know, spoiler alert, this is what it seems like. New Zealand and a small part of Australia is the only place that really you're safe from a nuclear war or from the winter, like where you could maybe rebuild. I want you guys to hear this conversation because it goes in more places than I anticipated. Now, a lot of people, I just wanted to hear where's the safest and get off this. But, when they get into this conversation about people who are building bunkers in New Zealand and stuff like that, it just gets really unique and interesting.
Are frozen over in sheets of ice. And when you have all the billions of people dying, it's because agriculture fails. And it is said by those who study this, the authors of Nuclear Winter, that there are some areas in Australia and New Zealand which would remain viable. But you're talking about kind of hunter-gatherer type people. Now, among the stranger conversations I have had since Nuclear War a Scenario published was with several billionaires who actually have bunkers in New Zealand.
No.
Oh, yeah.
They will remain nameless, but they were
Name them.
I will not name them. I will not name my sources. But what was interesting to me, it was that these individuals were the response to reading my book and realizing the world could end in 72 minutes wasn't, let's all get together and make sure nuclear war doesn't happen. Or maybe it was, and I just didn't hear that part of the conversation, but it was more about how fast can I get my G5 loaded so I can get to New Zealand, because a G5 a private aircraft can take you from Los Angeles to New Zealand without refueling. And so I think what I'm saying on a narrative level, and it speaks to the watching of TV or the trolls in the bar, is like, and this is me, the parent, speaking, it's like, I really believe in diplomacy. I really do believe in communication. I'm often accused of sounding Pollyanna-ish here, but I will cite, I spoke of the Reagan-Gorbachev joint statement, nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. But what preempted that was these two individuals, Reagan and Gorbachev, arch enemies, the United States and the Soviet Union. This is in 1983. Ronald Reagan saw the movie the day after, A Great Narrative, an ABC TV movie about a nuclear war. And it so upset him. Reagan being a nuclear hawk. It so upset him that he reached out to the arch enemy, the Soviet Union, Gorbachev, and said, we need to have a dialogue and we need to reduce our arsenals.
We're not going to live forever. And when we think about all the existential threats that are in front of us, some people say the sun's going to explode or some AI is going to get out of control in pest control scenario where it just kind of takes us out or whatever. But it appears to me that the greatest existential threat we have is ourselves in this regard. And these weapons that can wipe out this planet in a couple of minutes are clearly the greatest existential threat. And there doesn't seem to be any way back from that.
Which is a great opportunity to realize, this is the pathway of more wars is not the only way.
I have a strangely more optimistic and fatalistic perspective here. So when I look at this map, I think there's lots of places that are safe in the event of a nuclear conflict, especially if you consider traditional nuclear conflict, which is going to come from the 9 states that are nuclear capable. You're going to see whatever exchange of strategic or tactical warheads happen. You're going to see trade winds take whatever debris comes specifically from surface-based detonations, because seed-based detonations and air-based detonations will not create the same amount of fallout. So you'll see trade winds do what they do. But in large part, you're going to see 2 centers of the map firing at each other. So South America is going to get spared. Africa is going to get spared. Europe is going to be absorbing bad winds depending on what the trade winds look like. Southeast Asia and Australia, largely, these are going to be spared locations, depending on what Pakistan and India do, right? But my concern isn't the nuclear factor, it's the human factor after that. When Russia or China and the United States and Israel and Iran, when all these countries are just destroyed by their own conflict, and whatever fragmentary governments are trying to reset themselves, you've lost all of that GDP, you've lost all of that infrastructure, you've lost all of that world order. So now people are just going to get worse. African warlords are just going to get worse.
But
Latin American warlords are just going to get worse. I mean, it's going to be the age of the warlord again.
I don't know if that's as much a fatalistic view as perhaps it is a naive view, because when one of the components that you left out are the fires that will be burning after the nuclear detonations. And the fires burning are what lofts the soot. And that is what causes a nuclear winter. And if you look at the climate modeling, even a small, air quotes, nuclear war between India and Pakistan is enough to cause a mini nuclear winter. And so there will be no African warlords because they will starve as well. There will be no resetting of any of these governments. In my understanding, interviewing the experts on nuclear war, looking at the climate models that now tell us this very factually, that humanity dies. And so I don't think it's a reset at all, unless a reset is like us going back to our hunter-gatherer state from 12,000 years ago, trying to figure out how to kind of evolve again.
I mean, I don't think that all human beings will be lost. There will be human beings that make it through that. And if there's modeling, then the modeling is based on averages. And I would love to see how a nuclear winter spreads across the globe. But the idea that humanity would end, meaning the last human being would be lost, the probabilities of that just seem unrealistic.
No, I don't think it's an extinction level event. I think it's a near extinction level event. I mean, that was an idea that was first proposed by Carl Sagan based on the climate modeling that was available in the 80s, which was pretty, you know how the computers were. But now you're looking at the modeling. And again, this is just based on like soot going into the atmosphere.
So they're talking about climate model. Long story short, from what I'm gathering here is that the after effects of nuclear war would destroy the planet in so many different ways. But essentially, he's getting at these certain areas would still be valuable. I think he said Africa, South America, whatever he just said. You guys heard it. However, what she's trying to imply is because of the soot and the different after effects from it, and I think mixing that with, the direction of the climate, she's implying it's going to be impossible to grow food and things and survive, right? Because if we're hunter-gatherers, then there needs to be foliage so the deers, the cows can eat so we can hunt and eat them. And so with all this stuff dissipated, it's just like she's essentially saying billions of people are going to starve to death. That's, where it becomes problematic because all the resources are gone, which is really crazy to think. What is really crazy just to be like, oh, New Zealand is the safe haven. And I don't know if y'all are familiar. New Zealand doesn't have snakes. It's like really beautiful. It's not like Australia in the sense of like Australia has, I don't really know, but Australia, I think, has the most deadly like animals and insects and just, I don't know. Australia kind of scares me if I'm being real. But I don't know. I've seen some stuff from New Zealand. I'm like, damn. Well, essentially what she is getting at is the most important thing. And it goes back to Reagan and Gorbachev. That's his name, right? He had the coffee stain on his head. I remember him I was an 80s baby, y'all. But it's just like, it's not even viable. Nuclear war is not an option. The moment nuclear war starts, it's game over for everyone. And, that's just like also being selfish. The country that launches a nuclear war literally F's up the whole world and planet for everybody. Kind of reminds you of the Rona in 2020.
Maybe you, with your training, would be one of the survivors, but the rest of us...
I'll tell you exactly what my training... When I lived underground in a silo, we knew that if a nuclear weapon went off above your head, take your life while you can. Because trying to survive what's left behind is going to be worse. Dying as your organs melt is far worse than shooting yourself in the head today. And that may sound terrible, but what we're talking about is terrible times. What we're talking about is terrible times. And nobody wants to try to It's not like the movies and the TV shows. Nobody wants to try to live through that. You either get spared because you are luckily on vacation in Patagonia when it happens, and then you just have to figure out how to live off of fucking weeds and sheep, or you're somewhere where you can't avoid it. We often joke in a dark kind of way, if you see a mushroom cloud, run towards it because you will much prefer the sunburn than the survival rate afterwards.
My takeaway from what you said was
Talk about dystopian. talk, what is that called? The black pill? Talk about the black pill. Sheesh.
Middle Earth endures. See, that's why I said New Zealand.
Yeah, I was thinking Benjamin.
Middle Earth endures.
Yeah, 'cause
Narrative. There's your narrative.
I thought it was, so my understanding is that there's actually 3 safe zones.
You are right.
There's
Also,
Hawaii.
No.
I thought it was Hawaii. Correct me, but I thought it was Hawaii, Greenland, and New Zealand.
Because there's so many targets in Hawaii, Pacific Fleet,
It would be
a target.
a target of nuclear. Gotcha.
And same with all of Europe.
Yeah.
Because I don't, and you know, when I talk about a full-scale nuclear exchange, I certainly in my book, I'm talking about,
Thousands of warheads.
you're talking about Russia and the United States being involved in a full-scale nuclear exchange.
How does that, what's the sequence of events that leads us there? Because you'd think just launching one nuclear warhead would have a pretty big impact. How big are our biggest nuclear warheads in terms of the radius and impact they can have?
Thinking of the movie War Game, remember in the 80s, which kind of had a visualization of that.
And at that point in time, we had 70,000 nuclear warheads. Now we have 12,300 approximately between the nuclear-armed nations, approximately 10,000 of which are in the U.S. and Russia. So we each have 5,000.
Why do you need that many?
That's my point. That is the point. That was the point that Reagan and Gorbachev began, and it is because of their initial work that the world has moved in the direction of arms reduction, which
I'm smiling, but I shouldn't be smiling because I just watched a thing on Breaking Point. That's a little news channel on YouTube, and they had the audio of Trump. I don't know, it was a background meeting, but I heard him say it. Like he said something about because of the whole Ukraine-Russia shit. He said something about bombing the out of Moscow. And now I'm watching this. I'm like, yo, that's insane, bro. I shouldn't even be smiling. But I think, my personality is like you could either laugh or cry. You know what I'm saying? So I just laugh. But damn, man. Your whole perspective changes when you have children. Like these things aren't an option, in my opinion. Nuclear war isn't an option. There's no reason to go to nuclear war, but here we are.
I believe is the only hopeful direction that we must move.
When it comes to nuclear strategy, the sense behind the weapon is that the average warhead, I believe, is about 300 kilotons right now. A modern day ICBM can carry about 10 warheads, sometimes between 3 and 10, but they try to minimize the number of missiles by maximizing the number of warheads. So the detonation from a 300 kilogram detonation is a specific amount of space. I think it's like 50 miles or 110 miles of blast radius and like 15 to 30 miles of fireball. So when you are targeting the MIRV on your destination,
The MIRV.
the multiple independently targeted reentry vehicle, the little revolver in the sky, when you're targeting that, when you're programming that to release, you're not trying to hit the same place with 10 warheads. You're trying to spread your warheads so that the blast radiuses eradicate everything in the footprint. So you need 12,000, 10,000, 5,000 missiles per country. You need 5,000 warheads so that each warhead can cover, 300 square miles, and you can blanket it across multiple strategic targets and completely eradicate your opponent's ability to wage a counterattack.
And Russia are pretty paranoid of the nuclear program in the United States, so they created this dead hand system. What is the dead hand system?
The dead
Bro.
hand system is exactly like it sounds. It's from the Cold War, and it was this idea, the paranoid sort of Politburo was thinking, what if those Americans do a preemptive nuclear strike and kill us all before we even have a chance to launch? We want to be able to make sure that we end the world and kill all of them. That's kind of the idea behind it. And so they came up with this system, which is now known as the dead hand, because you could literally be dead and have it launch anyways. And the way it goes is that there are ground sensors across Russia that would, sense the bombs going off. And this is kind of like early AI, if you
All right, we're just gonna call it. We get it. The dead hand is basically bad sportsmanship. Like, you lost. You know, they're putting the victor's hand in the air, and instead of taking your loss, you're like, I'm gonna punch him while he's not looking or whatever. It's like, yo, we lost. We got bombed first, and we're just gonna blow up everything. Guess we're gonna take off on that note. I don't want to get too dystopian on this channel, but this is interesting. Man, this is like a 2 hour and 30-minute conversation. If you guys enjoyed any of this, go check this out on the Diary of a CEO. I'm going to watch some more of anything important or something worthwhile talking about on this channel. Pops, I will. Please tap in. Sorry, I just ate dinner. Please tap into the comments and let me know what you know about nuclear war, war strategy, etc. I don't know much, but what they're saying seems to make sense. And I guess she's like an expert on it, wrote a book. Now, I always take things with a grain of salt because there's experts at everything, and the experts don't always get it right, but I think they have enough information to help get to certain points. You know, again, when they talk about a nuclear winter and the winds and the climate and all this stuff, this is all speculation. So just because they said you'll survive in New Zealand doesn't necessarily mean you'll survive in New Zealand, doesn't necessarily mean that Africa is going to get obliterated, etc. It just means the probability from the numbers they ran or the formulas they ran, the speculation is that's what would happen. So there you have it. Anyways, thought that was interesting. And this is not clickbait. You got your answer. Allegedly the safest place in the world, the safest country in the world from a nuclear war scenario is New Zealand. Let me know what I got, what I missed. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Holla.
City boy, city boy.